come from Industrial Logistics Solutions, otherwise known as ILS, a business that has been very close to SAPIX for a long time now and has done a lot of support, provided a lot of support for us. Aldi's going to be speaking on cross-dock operations, the ultimate warehouse with no stock. So I'm very curious to see how we get away with no stock. So I'm looking forward to the presentation. Aldi is ready to rock and roll. So Aldi, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
Thanks, Tanya. Just confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, and your presentation is on the screen.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so excited to share with you guys my views on cross-dock operations, specifically focusing on the ultimate warehouse with zero inventory. In this presentation, I'm going to take you through a few items. We're going to start with what is the ideal warehouse without zero inventory. What is the benefits of this operation or type of operation? And if your company has the appetite to complete an operation like this, the requirements for successful zero inventory operations. And then I'm going to take you through 4 options of different types of operations, which cross-docking is one of the operations. We're going to talk about the reasons why you should implement cross-docking operations specifically. And then in conclusion, we're going to discuss if this is suitable for your business specifically. So I think it goes without saying that the ideal warehouse has zero inventory, no storage requirements. I think everybody that has a logistics or warehousing business in the audience knows the complexities that comes along with high inventory or even high SKUs. Your picking complications, your theft complications, your management complications, and then clearly also your inventory cost complications. There's loads and loads of complications that's tied into inventory. So we're going to discuss these benefits that I'm presenting now a bit later in the presentation and unravel each one of them. But for now, just a brief overview. Zero inventory operations clearly gives you a reduce in storage space, and that equates to a reduction in inventory cost. Also, because it's so time sensitive and the products go so quickly through the supply chain, you have a material handling cost reduction as well. In certain cases, and we will explain this a bit later in the presentation, you can increase product quality. And you can reduce labor costs by not handling the product as much as you would in a normal operation. You can reduce your damages done by forklifts and handling the box quite a lot. That's quite a big benefit. You reduce your delivery times because it goes now typically direct from manufacturer straight to customer. By doing that, you increase your service levels. But you can also either reduce your transportation cost and increase your transportation costs. And we'll do 2 case studies on that to quickly show you why you can either increase it or reduce it. And then for certain products like perishables, you increase the shelf life inside the stores. So if we discuss the requirements that you have for zero inventory warehousing, we're going to take each one of them on the following slides and discuss them in detail. But the items that you really have to focus on is your suppliers. Are they reliable? Do you have a good system, a warehouse management system? Is your facility designed to suit zero inventory operations? Do you have a good demand planning system, good transportation management system, and proper boxing and labeling and barcoding of your products? So let's first look at reliable suppliers. If your suppliers aren't reliable, you need to hold stock. And that's been learned by multiple people. As soon as your suppliers can't deliver on time, you can't deliver to your customers on time, or your shelves in your shop will be empty. And customer satisfaction has just increased in importance. So if you don't have reliable suppliers, unfortunately, you cannot have no stock. Do you have a good warehouse management system that you operate? So a warehouse management system, this is quite a difficult one, because if you are just a startup business at the moment, you cannot afford, the Rolls Royce or the best warehouse management, Manhattan or any like that. And you need to find one that can aid cross-docking, but also don't cost you an arm and a leg. And this exercise could be quite difficult. Your warehouse design. We see a lot of operations where people want to do cross-stocking or zero inventory operations, but then the facility they're in and the facility design doesn't suit those kind of operations. And cross-stocking and zero inventory operations are very time specific. So you cannot afford to not have the best
Please
flow.
just bear with us. Oh, there we go. Sorry, Aldi, you went missing in action there for a couple of minutes.
Oh.
So whatever you presented, we missed. It was the most bizarre thing. You literally just disappeared off the screen. So if you can just go back a little bit. And
you'll tell me how far.
Go from here, yes.
No.
Wow. One forward.
Okay, excellent. So I'm going to start this slide from the beginning. You need reliable suppliers. As soon as your supplier is unreliable and you can't get stock from them, either you are going to deliver late for your customer or your shop shelves are going to be empty. And if your supplier is unreliable, you sort of have to be the buffer. You have to keep his stock in your facility to make sure that you reach the customer satisfaction required. A warehouse management system is a very important requirement, but can be a complex requirement, because as soon as you are a startup business and you want to start doing zero inventory or cross-docking operations, you cannot afford to pay an arm and a leg for a warehouse management system, but you can also not have a good warehouse management system and run these operations. So there's a fine line that you need to get to know that you have a warehouse management system that can execute your processes. The warehousing design is one of the biggest requirements. We see it at a lot of our clients that they want to do cross-docking or zero inventory implementations, but the facility design and even the equipment design do not suit cross-docking operations. And because cross-docking and zero inventory operations are so time sensitive, you cannot afford to have any complications in your process flow. You need to be able to go direct in and out. There's a lot of technology available on the market to suit your design, your warehouse design, but we always recommend first define the processes and the operational needs and the business needs, and then wrap either the building around that or even technology around it. Don't select a piece of technology like the cross-belt sorter or the tilt tray sorter and then try and design your process around it. Technology should only be able to aid your process and not define your process. So the requirements for zero inventory, the other two that I mentioned was demand planning and transportation management. Because you have no buffer, you need to plan better. If you have a buffer, if you make planning mistakes, you have that wiggle room where you're not as time sensitive, so you can make a plan. In the case of zero inventory operations and cross-docking specifically, you do not have the leniency. Transportation management systems. This is required because now you have an instantaneous in-feed from receiving to dispatch, and you need to manage it. Not only your trucks on the road, but also inside your yard, because it can be quite messy, and transportation plays a much bigger role now than what it does in normal operations. Product labeling and barcoding, especially in cross-docking. This is an absolute critical one. You don't have time to get information. Information needs to be provided from step one. So a product needs to arrive and you need to know where it's going, what the address is, all the information needs to be on that. Zero inventory operations are very, very, very time sensitive to information. So the the options we are going to discuss is the virtual warehouse, cross-docking, flow-through, and pick-to-zero. These are the 4 options that I've selected, and I have a few case studies on them. There are other types of options and hybrids that you could use, and we can discuss those in the question session, but these are the 4 that's covered in the presentation. So the first option is virtual warehousing. So a virtual warehouse it just sounds amazing. You can be anywhere in the world, and your inventory can be anywhere in the world, and you control your assets remotely, and you distribute to your clients directly and on an as-need basis. Even though virtual warehousing sounds so amazing, it doesn't go without its challenges. So one of the biggest challenges with virtual warehousing is the software. Again, I see a lot of people that have startup e-commerce businesses, selling like a niche product, like baby products or any niche small product, and they started a platform. And they're not in that state of the supply chain yet that they own their own warehousing. So they make use of virtual warehousing. But now they cannot afford a sophisticated software system. And that causes quite a big challenge. People that has very sophisticated software systems have less of a challenge with virtual warehousing. Reliable suppliers, again, is one of the key determinants if this is going to be successful. But not only if they're reliable, if they're cost effective, because you switch quite a lot of your responsibility onto your supplier when you do virtual warehousing. And then as your supply chain gets more complicated, you have other complications like inventory transfers between distribution centers. Where should you keep your inventory, and how much inventory should be kept where? And then one of the problems that is quite a difficult one to manage, but I guess it's with all the operations, the problem is, what do you do, or how do you cope if you can't deliver a product or it's not available in a virtual warehouse? And then the ultimate virtual warehouse is definitely 3D printers in a shop, or even better, a 3D printer in your client's house, and they can print directly for themselves, or you can print for them in a shop. I mean, then you don't need a warehouse at all. This is definitely the way of the future for warehousing. So the case study on virtual warehousing is going to be an Amazon case study. So I'm just going to open up my slideshow here so that I can see my stats. I can't, it's fine. So Amazon, Jeff Bezos, I don't know if anybody in the audience have read Jeff Bezos' book, The Everything Store. But in his book, he explains that when he started up Amazon, he envisioned Amazon being a virtual warehouse. So he'll only manage the platform, and he'll sell everything through his virtual warehouses. Not long into the process, he realized that if he wants to achieve the customer satisfaction that he wants, this is impossible because his suppliers aren't reliable and he needs to hold stock. So Amazon went through these dips where they hold all the item stock, then their stock range grew too much and they couldn't have everything again, and then they start giving it to virtual warehouses or suppliers to keep. So it was a seesaw effect for them on virtual warehousing. As Amazon's warehouse grew, they also started cross-docking direct from supplier or from other fulfillment centers. So just because it's now Cyber Monday and Black Friday and Amazon Prime Day, I wanted to give you some numbers of Amazon and how big their operation is. So in 2019, Amazon had 94% of the US e-commerce market. Just to put it in perspective, their closest competitors, eBay, only had 6.6%, Apple had only 3.9%, and Walmart had only 2.6%. Not even all combined is as close as Amazon. In Amazon Prime Day 2019, Amazon sold $9.4 billion dollars of items on their website. That equates to 175 million products that were sold in 2 days. That equates to between 800 to 1,000 units shipped out of the fulfillment centers a second. In 2018, they shipped roughly in 700 units per second on Amazon Prime Day. And as soon as you start doing those kind of volumes, your supply chain just changes completely. And you need to be flexible. You need to be able to do virtual warehousing, direct from a supplier to a customer. You need to be able to cross-stock and consolidate in your fulfillment center. You need to be able to get products from one fulfillment center to another fulfillment center to a customer. So Amazon has a hybrid between all four operations that I'm presenting today. In addition to their supply chain that's sophisticated, Amazon also in 2013 started a process which they call Fulfilled by Amazon, or FBA. FBA is basically redefining 3PL. So you as an Amazon customer can use their sophisticated supply chain to distribute your product, and you can decide how involved you want Amazon to be. Do you want them to go collect it direct from supplier, or supplier delivered direct to them? They will do that. Do you want their software to show you and tell you your safety stock and how your products are doing? They will manage that for you. Then we get into the next example, which is cross-docking, very time sensitive. In at the one door, out immediately, no additional processes happening. And the sooner you can get in on the one side, out on the other side, the better for your process. Specifically in courier facilities, they don't have the slotting of the deliveries coming and the deliveries exiting is so high that you cannot have an error in timing. It is in and out. And if you missed your in time slot, you have a whole ripple effect on the entire process. I'm going to take you through two case studies. The one case study I see, my face is over the slides, but it says inbound supply chain consolidation. And then the second case study will be a national slow-moving distribution center. So ILS did a project for a petrochemical mining company. The project duration was more or less 4 years, where we investigated consolidation of their mining products, their engineering space. They have a lot of mines, and we decided we're going to consolidate everything together, and we build an inbound logistics center consolidating all these items. After we did the study of consolidating, we picked up that they have more than 1,000 suppliers coming from the Gauteng area, specifically Johannesburg. And those suppliers were making deliveries between the region of 800 to 1,200 deliveries daily. And there was a lot of vehicles with low utilization going to the plants. So we then implemented a cross-dock facility in Johannesburg where suppliers could deliver their product and then the client delivered to the end user. And we had a consolidation from 1 to 5. So there's only now 250 vehicles on the road daily. And the utilization of the vehicles are also quite gone up significantly. Another benefit we had with this client is that we could move quality assurance to Johannesburg, where majority of the suppliers are. Because it's engineering space, the quality assurance takes a bit longer than just looking at the product and it's not damaged. They do a few tests on it. So sometimes what happened is the client delivered it and then they went back and then they had to come and fetch it because it was wrong. Now, if it's wrong, they just have to fetch it in Johannesburg, in Germiston specifically. We also added on the reverse logistics leg. Clients had to refurb a lot of their products. So engineering space have a certain lifetime and then they have to be re-oiled, refurb, bearing has to change, and they need a new guarantee. So a client had to come and fetch the motor or whatever the case, take it back, fix it and bring it back. Now with this new inbound supply chain consolidation project, the reverse logistics leg was one of the suppliers' truck going back into Johannesburg would bring the product for the client closer. Problem with this project was to get the return on investment. The return on investment was based on the percentage discount we can get from suppliers by distributing for them, and that had to pay for the cross-dock operations. In the national slow-moving DC example, we did a project for electric company that does maintenance on electric wiring. And we looked at the tail end of their ABC analysis, and we picked up that majority of their products are D-movers and critical spares and haven't been used in the last 5 years or 6 years. And what we did is we pulled all those D-movers out into a national slow-moving DC. And then as those products are requested, we cross-dock them through the regional DCs to the technicians. What this national slow-moving DC also allowed us to do is that we could cross-dock through their urgent and fast-moving items to the regional DC and consolidate deliveries. And we also moved quality assurance there, and that assisted with the critical space and the refurbishments required. The other benefit that we had that was a PR plus, it was we moved the buyers there. So the people actually buying the product. Some of these big corporate companies have lots of silos, and by moving the buyers into the operation, we reduced the quantity of wrong orders and wrong quantity orders. This is a facility we visited in our yearly Europe tour that ILS does. I was blessed enough to go with on the tour, and it was amazing. We go once a year to Europe to visit the best facilities around the world, and this was a courier facility. And a facility like this typically can do anything from 10,000 units to 30,000 units an hour, or cases an hour. And it was absolutely magnificent. If you see the facility like this, you can see that there's no room for error in cross-docking, specifically courier cross-docking. So we discussed majority of the challenges, and I'm not going to touch on each challenge again. I'm just going to mention the few that is listed here that I think is important, and you should make an extra note for it, because cross-docking is so time sensitive. You cannot afford to have any processing happening while you cross-dock. So products need to be labeled correctly, barcoded correctly, strapped and shrink wrapped. Whatever the requirement is for the facility, the product needs to come in ready. The facility design, we've picked up on that client that we did for the Germiston, the consolidated inbound. The facility we end up with didn't have enough doors, and it is a big constraint because you push so hard to get it in your trucks, and then there's not enough doors to facilitate that. So the facility design is absolutely critical. The other thing we picked up with another client that did a slow-moving nationals DC is the amount of training. It is a big culture change to go from normal operations to cross-docking operations, and one shouldn't underestimate the amount of staff training that's going to be required. Then the next operation we're going to go through is flow-through, and this is personally one of my favorite type of operations that you can do in a DC. Basically what works is you receive a product, and then you do some sort of process with it. You add value, you repack it, you add an invoice, some sort of process happens in the middle, and then you dispatch. The example that I'm going to give you is Tesco in Europe. This is a retailer. Their perishable products and their cold chain is done by flow-through. So the farmer will arrive with a crate of tomatoes, and a picker or a general worker will then take that crate of tomatoes, and he will go and distribute it between all the different types of store. By doing a flow-through operation, Tesco's products inside the store has a much longer life than it would have had if it was conventional warehousing. They also add invoices and sometimes change packaging. Let's say you have a promotion, Tesco has a promotion, but the farmer is not aware of the promotion. So when the product comes, they want to put it in a Christmas bag for the Christmas season, or they want to put a bunny on it for Easter. They also do this in the flow-through operation. As soon as the store is fully packed and the order is ready to go to the store, they dispatch that store. At the end of the day at Tesco, there is some stock remaining, and the warehouse is not empty at the end of the day, but it is predominantly empty, and they try to get rid of every stock. That brings me to the final type of operations we're going to discuss is pick to zero. So pick to zero is very similar than flow through. The only difference is with pick to zero, you are picking to zero. So you knew in front how much is coming, and then you have picked that quantity to zero. That can be in a flow-through operation where the tomatoes has come and you have picked to zero. It could be that product has come and you've picked to zero into pick faces. And it could be that it's something that you have a bulk load of it. Let's say toilet paper, you have 100 toilet paper. It always goes fast. At the end of the day, when the orders are finished picked, you pick that toilet paper into the trucks and make sure that you distribute all the toilet paper. Just a summary of the inventory operations, zero inventory operations that we've just discussed. So it's the virtual warehouse. So anywhere in the world, ship direct from manufacturer to customer. Cross-docking, in on the one side, out on the other side, very, very time sensitive. Flow through, you have a value-added process in the middle, and it's very good for perishable products or products with short shelf lives. Then pick to zero is when you have no stock left after the day and you've picked all the products that you've brought into a pick phase or into a dispatch lane. Then we get to a partial combination implementation. This is a great solution because not everything in your warehouse will work for one specific type of operation. So I'm going to give you 3 examples of clients that I know that have done that. One client is a retailer that do it with toilet paper. So next to their dispatch, they stage their toilet paper and they cross-dock their toilet paper every time out when there's a bit of space in a truck. Sometimes they even load full pallets of toilet paper directly out. So toilet paper comes in the morning and they cross-dock it out. Then you get slow-moving inventory items and what to do with your D-movers. And there's a bunch of things you can do with your D-movers. You can let your suppliers keep them and only order them when you require, so more or less virtual warehousing. You can cross-dock it yourself from supplier through your facility if they don't want to deliver direct. And you can extract it, put it in a cheap facility that doesn't cost you a lot of money and have a slow-moving nationals DC. The benefit of doing that is that you pay less on inventory than you would do in your main warehouse where you keep all your fast-moving items. The other option is when there's urgency orders. That's the third picture. That's one of our clients that gets a lot of urgency products. So the operations, it's a petrochemical plant. The operations sometimes have critical breakdown and they need something urgently. So a supplier would come and deliver it to the warehouse and it will go straight through to end user. So let's just touch on the reasons why to implement zero inventory operations quickly again. So you have a wide range of SKUs over lots of suppliers and only certain ones of them are selling. Then maybe you should consider virtual warehousing or keeping your fast movers and maybe cross-docking direct from suppliers, the items that's not really selling. Your slow-moving D items, like we just discussed. If you have cluttered suppliers or even cluttered customers, and you have to look at your overall supply chain network and see if there's somewhere where you consolidate and you do distribution. And if I say you do distribution, it doesn't have to be you. It can be a third party. You can make a DSV or Imperial run that warehouse for you, but you just take the burden off your supplier because somebody still needs to do it. If it's not your supplier or the third party, the product still needs to go from point A to point B. Perishable products, zero inventory is absolutely amazing for perishable products. You don't want these products to sit long in your facilities. Fast-moving, bulky products like toilet paper, water coolers, cool boxes, anything it's a hassle to put it in the racking, and it's also going out fast. Rather keep those outside your racking and cross-dock them over your dispatch floor. Pre-labeled or pre-picked products like courier facilities. And then my favorite, promotional products. If you know your company is going to do a promotion, do not put these products in your racking. Keep them in a block stack area close to your dispatch, and combine them there, keep them there if it's necessary to keep them, and cross-stock them over your dispatch floor, so that you don't constrain your picking with a clear promotional that's going to happen. This is a diagram we and ILS designed together for this presentation. Martin Bailey assisted me with it. It just shows the efficiency and the space utilization of the different types of operation. We thought it would be nice to show you where cross-stocking more or less sits. So cross-stocking, space utilization is okay. It's not the best like an ASRS system, but it's not bad because it's so clean and you don't have a lot of footprint. And the throughput is much higher than your conventional big to medium aisle operations. So I guess in conclusion, the question remains is zero inventory operations suitable for your business? And I've developed these 6 questions. And if you ask them and you find the root cause of each one of them, I think you'll get the answer if you and your business can attempt zero inventory operations. A question that I didn't add here is if you have the appetite for it, because you need to know that it is a harsh environment and you need to have the appetite for implementing it and understanding why you want to do it. So the first question is what does your supply chain look like? Look at your network. Is there possibilities that you can consolidate somewhere? How reliable are your suppliers? What sort of discount will you get by holding inventory versus doing cross-stocking or zero inventory operations? That's a discussion between you and your supplier. What does your Pareto look like? How many fast movers? How many slow movers? Where's your business at? What type of systems does you and your suppliers use? Don't only look internally. Make sure your suppliers also has sophisticated systems. And then what is your product features? I hope that with this presentation, I've given you some ideas and I've made it slightly possible for you to put your feet up on a table in an empty warehouse with zero stock, and that your operations will run more cost effectively and more inventory free. Thank you, guys. Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, here we go. Okay, can you combine zero inventory, cross-dock, and physical inventory? How do you document the operations?
Yes, you can definitely combine the two. Let me just put off my presentation, I guess. Well, you can definitely combine the two. There's multiple clients that has combined the two, and that links back into having a good warehouse management system. Loads of warehouse management systems have the operation, but you can do, if you don't have a good warehouse management system, you could have, an easy solution where you have bin locations. It's a cross-dock receiving location, and your outbound location is your export location, and you transfer it through your facility. So there's definitely ways that you could do it, and you must work in the constraints of your facility and your warehouse management system. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, any other questions for Aldi while she's here? It certainly looks good to sit back there in an empty warehouse on a chair, just relaxing, because you don't have to worry about inventory. So I hope that it's given you all something to think about, and look at your operations and see if it's possible for you to achieve that. What would you need to do? How would you do it? What would there be benefits? Would there not be benefits? Yeah, I definitely think lots to think about. I mean, I obviously that would be an ideal solution, but I don't know if that's everybody's reality. But thank you, Aldi, for unpacking those for us, and sharing your thoughts and your case studies where you've managed to do this, and especially some of the information about Amazon is actually mind-boggling if you think of the amount of stuff that moves. How they even do it, I don't know. But thank you very much for the presentation and giving us your time. Are you going to be around for a little while?
Yeah, I'll stay a bit behind. I'm going to work, so I'll join a table and keep it open on my laptop if anybody has a
Okay,
question.
perfect. So if you've got any questions, would like to chat more with Aldi, please visit her in the lounge at one of the tables.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Everybody, we will reconvene at 3:30 for the next session. So you've got time to take some comfort breaks, and we will see you all shortly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.